This is Amy Chan from CakeDecoratingSchool.com, and if you like cake decorating, you're in the right place. In this video, we're going to be talking about parchment paper. And there's a couple of different kinds you can buy. We prefer the silicone coated, but what you choose is really up to you. So we'll talk about some of the basics. So what we have here is a silicone coated bleached parchment paper. So if you're looking for it to be as natural as possible, you probably want to go with an unbleached product. And of course, as with all things, the closer you get towards organic and natural, the more expensive it gets. So cost can be an issue and a factor when making your choices. So whether you go bleached versus unbleached is to a large degree up to you and whether you can afford to. And then there's a couple of coatings that they use to make them non-stick. There's silicone, which a lot of people prefer because it's derived from naturally occurring silica. It has better non-stick properties. It can be reused multiple times, meaning that you can bake on it several times before you have to throw it away. But it is more costly than the alternative, which would be Quilon or Quilon, I'm not even sure how to pronounce it, which is a chemically manufactured non-stick surface. And some people do worry a little bit about the fact that the chemical process to create Quilon involves chromium, and if you're heating it too high, they worry about the possibility of the leaching of something that's toxic to humans. So one thing to consider if you're going with a Quilon, it's a little cheaper, but it can only be used once, so it's a single-use product. And there are some safety concerns, so you probably want to factor in what you're baking, what temperatures you're using it at, and look into that just a little bit when you're making your choice. As far as sizes go, I like to buy what is considered a full sheet kind of size, and then I cut it down for my various uses. So this one is 16 3/4 by 24 3/4, right? And I bake a lot on half sheet trays, and I've got one over here. So all I do when I'm gonna get that ready is I take my big papers, I fold them in half, right? Make a nice crease, take a nice sharp chef's knife and just slide it in between, right? And now you have the right size. So I buy the large ones because it's a little more cost effective and they're really easy to cut down into the appropriate size. It gives me just a little bit of an extra tab. And if I'm baking something like brownies or something like that where I'm gonna fill the whole tray, I actually just grease that up onto the side because it gives you a bit of a lip that you can help with release. But if I'm just doing cookies or something like that, I just fold it over so that the pages perfectly fit the trays and it's ready to bake on. And one of the reasons you're going to use this is because it gives you a little bit of a no-stick surface, but also because when you line your trays like this, it keeps them cleaner, which means you spend less washing them in terms of water, soap, and labor, right? So it'll extend the life of your pan and make less work for you at the end of the day because there's less to clean up, right? And if I want to use these papers for any of my smaller trays, like my 1/4 or 1/8 of sheets, I just keep folding. So I'll go in half again, and I'm the perfect size, right, for my 1/4 sheet trays. And then you can go in a half again, and you've got the perfect size for your 1/8, right? So they're great for lining your sheet trays, but also for the bottom of your cake pans. So if you bake a lot of cakes, you want to make sure that they release. And one of the best ways to do that is by lining them with some parchment. And when I do that, you can buy pre-cut circles, but if you're just starting out and you're not doing tons of volume, it's oftentimes easier just to cut them yourself. And to make it just a little more economical, I use the excess for parchment squares for my flower nails. So I'll take my pan, trace the bottom with a pencil. You can do multiple sheets at a time so it's nice and efficient, right? And then just cut them out. right? And that gives you beautiful rounds to line the bottom of your pans with. And so that I'm creating as little waste as possible, I'll take the larger areas and cut them down into squares. And usually when I'm cutting a bunch of cake circles, I'll do a whole bunch all at once. And then I take all my excess and I cut nice little squares out of it. And I have those all ready to go for my flower nail. And I just keep a nice little baggie and I store the extras in there. And then that way, anytime I'm gonna pipe roses or another flower on my nail, I have a whole bunch of parchment squares pre-cut in a variety of little sizes, and I can just pick out the ones that I need. And that really leaves you with very little in terms of scrap and waste. The other thing that I use my parchment for occasionally is to make a paper cone or coronet. And so usually I just take, right, the half sheet size, I fold it over. Since this isn't a perfect square, fold it like this, right? So there's a little overlap on each side, right? And you can see it kind of makes a W at the bottom. And I cut along this line. Right? And that gives me a nice triangle just with one point missing. And I'll start with the missing side first, roll it over, and kind of line it up with that top edge. And then take the side with the point and roll it over the back. And you can see it gives us a nice little cone, right? It's looking a bit like a little cornucopia, right? And all those little points are lining up, and just fold it over a few times. And I use this if I'm gonna do something like pipe some chocolates on the edge of a plate, or if I just need to put a few little dots of a color like black, say for eyes, and I don't wanna make a decorating bag and I don't want to use a reusable or disposable bag and I don't want to have to wash anything. They're a nice alternative to pastry bags if you need an extra one at some point and you don't have one at hand. So it's a good thing to know how to make and a good thing to use. And a lot of times when I'm doing small projects like samples, I just make a whole bunch of these ahead of time so that they're right there, ready to use and easy to go. And this covers the types of parchment and what we use them for. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it and you want to check out more, you can follow us on Insta or YouTube at Cake Decorating School.